love, betrayal, rebellion, and time itself. The Season 1 finale of Outlander, Blood of My Blood, gives us everything we've been waiting for and more, from Ellen McKenzie's heartbreaking choice to Julia's time-defying sacrifice. Episode 10 ties every thread of family, destiny, and history into one breathtaking conclusion. But what does that ending really mean, and how does it connect to the Outlander universe we already know? Let's break it down, chapter by chapter. The finale of Outlander, Blood of My Blood, opens with a sweeping view of Castle Leoch, banners fluttering, fires crackling, and the sound of bagpipes echoing through its ancient stone walls. It's a day that should be filled with joy and triumph. Ellen McKenzie, daughter of the clan's proud lineage, is to marry Malcolm Grant, a match designed to secure political peace between two powerful Highland families. The great hall gleams with silver goblets and tartan banners. The air is thick with the scent of roasted venison and anticipation. To the gathered clansmen, it is a celebration of alliance, but to Ellen, it feels like a funeral for her heart. Draped in a gown of pale silk and Mackenzie plaid, Ellen moves through the ceremony with practiced grace, her every gesture the picture of obedience. Yet behind her calm expression lies a storm. Her eyes betray the sorrow she can no longer conceal, a grief not for what she's losing, but for what she's being forced to destroy. Her heart belongs to Brian Fraser, a man she cannot marry, not because he lacks honor or love, but because politics have turned affection into treason. Ellen McKenzie, her older brother and clan leader, watches every move from his carved oak chair. To him, Ellen's marriage is a calculated act of preservation. With the Jacobite cause rumbling beneath Scotland's surface, alliances are power, and a union with the Grants could mean survival. Yet Colum's brand of leadership, shaped by manipulation and pride, leaves little room for sentiment. To him, love is a luxury, one that Ellen cannot afford. When Ellen learns the truth about Brian's absence, the weight of her family's betrayal hits with devastating clarity. A whisper in the corridor, a slip from a servant's tongue. Colum had not merely forbidden Brian from approaching her, he had sent men to ensure Brian never made it to Leoch alive. Assassins. The word feels poisonous on her lips. It's not just her brother's ruthlessness that wounds her, but the realization that her family's honor is built on deceit. As the ceremony nears, the castle becomes a cage. The music, the laughter, even the pipes that once stirred her blood, now sound hollow and mocking. Ellen's steps grow heavier with each ritual, each toast. When Malcolm approaches, kind-eyed but oblivious to the heartbreak in front of him, Ellen forces a smile that barely reaches her eyes. But beneath the veil of obedience, rebellion brews. Every glance toward the door, every tremor in her hands, hints at the decision forming in her heart. She cannot marry Malcolm Grant. She cannot live a life dictated by fear and politics, while the man she loves may be dying because of her family's ambition. In the flickering torchlight of Castle Leoch, Ellen McKenzie, daughter, sister, pawn, begins to transform into something else entirely. A woman willing to defy her clan, her name, and even her own fate for the sake of love. The wedding that should have been a symbol of unity becomes instead the spark of revolution, not of nations, but of the heart. Far from the towering walls of Castle Leoch, the camera cuts to the haunting beauty of the Scottish Highlands, an endless stretch of mist, moor, and shadow. The peace of the landscape is shattered by the thunder of hooves. Julia Fraser bursts through the fog, her cloak whipping behind her like a banner of defiance. In her arms, she clutches baby William, his soft cries barely audible over the pounding wind. Behind her, Simon Fraser and his men give chase, their faces grim, their intent unmistakable. What began as a struggle for love has turned into a fight for survival. Julia's story in this finale is one of raw, maternal instinct and desperate courage. Every frame of her flight is charged with emotion, the rattling breath of her horse, the flash of fear in her eyes, the glint of steel as arrows whistle past her. The landscape itself seems to conspire against her, rivers swollen with rain, narrow trails slick with mud, the ever-present mist hiding both safety and danger. Yet Julia presses on, driven by a force stronger than fear. She must reach Henry and the Standing Stones before it's too late. Simon Fraser's pursuit is fueled by obsession. Once her protector, he has descended into something darker, his wounded pride twisted into cruelty. His shouts echo across the glens, promises of retribution that send a chill through the scene. What he sees as vengeance, Julia sees as madness. For her, every moment is a test of endurance, a battle between heart and exhaustion. Her child's weight grows heavier in her arms, yet she never falters. The sequence is filmed like a fever dream, swirling fog, galloping horses breaking through the mist, and Julia's face illuminated by flashes of pale morning light. There's a moment when she stumbles upon a burned-out croft, the ashes still warm. She takes shelter for only a heartbeat, clutching William close, whispering lullabies to calm him, and perhaps to steady her own trembling soul. Her words are simple. "You're my world, my little light. I'll get you home." It's a line that encapsulates the heart of Outlander. Love enduring through impossible odds. As dawn breaks, Julia spots smoke on the horizon, a signal from Henry. He's waiting near the ancient circle of standing stones, the place where time bends and fate rewrites itself. Hope flickers across her face, but so does dread. The closer she gets, the louder the sound of pursuit becomes. Simon's men are relentless. A desperate sprint begins across the moor, Julia's horse lathered with sweat, her cloak torn and her voice hoarse from shouting Henry's name. In these final moments of the chase, time seems to slow. The camera lingers on Julia's face, mud-streaked, tear-stained, but fierce. She is no longer running just to save herself. She is running to preserve a legacy, one that will one day shape the life of Claire Fraser. The fear, the determination, the sheer will to protect her child, it all becomes the emotional core of the episode. By the time Julia reaches the ridge overlooking the stones, the audience can feel her exhaustion. The stones hum faintly in the distance, a reminder that this is no ordinary escape, it's destiny calling. Behind her, the thunder of hooves draws nearer. Ahead lies the unknown. Between the two stands Julia Fraser, a mother, a warrior, and a heartbeat in the long, eternal rhythm of the Outlander universe. As the chaos of Ellen's impending wedding unfolds within the walls of Castle Leoch, the story shifts to the rugged Scottish countryside, where Brian Fraser rides through the pre-dawn fog with a grim determination that borders on madness. He knows that returning to Leoch is tantamount to signing his own death warrant. Colm and Ellen McKenzie have already marked him as a threat to their political ambitions. Yet love, for Brian, has never been a choice. It is a calling, one that defies reason, pride, and fear alike. Disguised as a humble grain messenger, Brian approaches the castle gates with his hood drawn low, his hand steady despite the danger. The guards, accustomed to traders coming and going in preparation for the wedding feast, barely glance his way. Still, every step within the castle walls feels like trespassing in sacred ground, a place where Ellen once laughed, once looked at him with eyes that held both light and sorrow. Now, those same halls hum with false celebration, and Brian walks among his enemies cloaked in anonymity. The cinematography in this sequence is breathtaking. Narrow stone corridors lit by torchlight, the murmur of guests echoing off the walls, and Brian's silhouette framed against the great hearth of the castle. It's here that the audience feels the tension coil tight. Each footfall could be his last. Each face he passes might recognize him, but his resolve never falters. He has come for Ellen, to see her, to save her, or to die trying. The turning point of this chapter comes when Brian unexpectedly crosses paths with Jocasta Cameron, Ellen's younger sister. She stands at the far end of the corridor, her sharp eyes catching his instantly. The air between them freezes, recognition flares, followed by a flood of emotion. Jocasta, torn between duty and compassion, hesitates only for a moment before silently guiding him into a nearby chamber. The two share a conversation charged with unspoken history and quiet rebellion. Jocasta's compassion is not born of recklessness but of empathy. She, too, has known what it is to live under the shadow of her brother's control, to have her choices dictated by clan politics. Her decision to help Brian, offering him a safe path through the castle, a warning of guards, patrols, and a brief glimpse of Ellen's chambers is her own small act of defiance. In a world ruled by men, Jocasta's kindness becomes its own form of power. Their exchange is intimate, layered with subtext. Brian thanks her with a quiet sincerity that speaks volumes. Jocasta's eyes soften, but her voice trembles as she whispers, "You'll not get far if Colm learns you're here. But if love's the death you choose, then go quick, and pray it's worth the cost." As Brian slips away into the hidden passageways of the castle, his courage embodies the spirit of Outlander itself. Love is rebellion, devotion is strength. Every heartbeat, every shadow he moves through, reminds us that love is not gentle in this world. It is perilous, demanding, and fierce. His journey back to Ellen is not just the act of a lover, it is the act of a man refusing to let the cruelty of power decide the fate of his heart. The Grand Hall of Castle Leoch is alive with ceremony and spectacle. Guests line the benches, the scent of burning peat, mingling with wine and candle wax. Bagpipes wail a solemn tune as Ellen McKenzie, radiant in her wedding gown, walks slowly down the aisle. Her steps are steady, but her spirit feels numb. Each echo of her heel against the stone floor sounds like a countdown to her surrender. She has resigned herself to a loveless future, bound not by affection, but by duty. The man waiting for her at the altar, Malcolm Grant, is kind and honorable. But her heart does not stir at the sight of him. She is marrying for her clan, not for herself. Yet just as the priest begins to speak, the hall's charged stillness is shattered. The doors swing open, and Duel McKenzie strides forward, his expression grim and unflinching. The murmurs begin almost instantly, a wave of shock rippling through the gathered clansmen. In his booming voice, Duel announces that there has been a change. He will take Ellen's hand in marriage, not Malcolm. The declaration lands like thunder. The air thickens with disbelief. Malcolm's face blanches, while Colum, watching from his chair, remains eerily composed, as though the entire spectacle were part of a carefully laid plan. The room erupts into chaos. Guests whisper and argue. The Grants look insulted, even betrayed. But beneath the outrage, the political logic becomes clear. Colum's maneuver is ruthless but calculated by uniting his sister with Duel. He strengthens the Mackenzie clan's power internally while still preserving the fragile peace with the Grants. Malcolm is sacrificed for the greater good, his humiliation the price of strategy. In this brutal game of Highland politics, love and honor are casualties of ambition. For Ellen, however, this unexpected twist is both a curse and a blessing. As confusion and argument break out across the hall, she sees her chance. The swirl of movement, the raised voices, the distracted guards, all of it becomes her cover. Beneath her veil, her eyes sharpen with resolve. She realizes that she no longer has to quietly endure her fate. Fate itself, for once, is distracted. While Duel and Colum argue over appearances and honor, Ellen slips quietly from the ceremony, her hands trembling as she gathers her skirts. The corridors of Castle Leoch stretch before her like a labyrinth of shadows. She moves quickly but cautiously, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. She is no longer a pawn, she is a fugitive, reclaiming her freedom one breath at a time. The scene captures a powerful thematic truth of Outlander, blood of my blood. In the 18th century, women's lives were bound by the politics of men, yet even in their oppression, they found ways to seize control of their destinies. Ellen's escape is not loud or violent, it is quiet, deliberate, and brave. In slipping away from her wedding, she redefines herself, choosing love over obligation, truth over appearance, and courage over comfort. By the time her absence is noticed, the ceremony has descended into argument and disarray. Column's authority wavers, Malcolm storms out, and the guests are left in stunned silence. Outside, Ellen vanishes into the fog of the Highlands, her future uncertain but finally her own. What began as a political spectacle has become an act of rebellion. One woman's defiance against the chains of clan and custom, setting in motion a love story that will echo through generations. Amid the turmoil at Castle Leoch, the chaos of the broken wedding, the shouting of clansmen, and the storm gathering outside, Ellen McKenzie slips away into the night. Her breath clouds in the chill air as she runs through the narrow corridors and down toward the old courtyard, her heart thundering louder than the distant pipes. She moves through the dark like a ghost, every step echoing her resolve. She doesn't yet know if Brian Fraser has survived, but something inside her refuses to believe he's gone. Beyond the stables, she finds the small, weathered chicken coop, a place so humble and forgotten that it seems invisible amid the grandeur of Castle Leoch. She ducks inside, clutching her skirts, her pulse racing, and then she sees him. Brian stands there in the half-light, his cloak torn, his face streaked with mud and exhaustion. For a moment, neither speaks. Time itself seems to hold its breath. The sight of each other, after so much fear and longing, says more than words ever could. When Ellen finally steps forward, her composure shatters. The tears she has held back for weeks spill freely as she touches his face, confirming he is real, alive, and here. "You shouldn't have come," she whispers, her voice breaking. "They would kill you if they knew." But Brian only smiles, that quiet, steady smile that has always undone her. He says softly, "but I'd die if I didn't." Their reunion is not grand or cinematic, it's raw, intimate, and achingly human. The coop around them smells of hay and rain-soaked earth, a stark contrast to the finery of the wedding hall she fled. Yet in this humble place, surrounded by flickering lantern light and the faint cluck of hens, something sacred unfolds. Ellen confesses the truth she has buried beneath layers of duty and fear. She tells him how her rejection was a lie, a desperate act to protect him from Colum and Duel's wrath. Every word trembles with guilt and relief. "I thought pushing you away would keep you safe," she says, but it only broke me. Brian listens in silence, his eyes never leaving hers. When she finishes, he takes her hand and presses it to his heart. I never believed you, he says gently. Not truly. I saw the truth in your eyes the day you turned me away. You can lie to your brothers, Ellen, but never to me. The simplicity of the moment cuts deeper than any declaration. Their love has been forged through fear, betrayal, and impossible choices, yet it endures, unyielding, defiant. When Brian pulls Ellen into his arms, the world outside seems to vanish. For the first time, they are free, not in body, but in spirit. The camera lingers on their embrace, the soft candlelight glinting off Ellen's tears, the slow exhale of relief that feels like the first breath after drowning. This scene encapsulates the beating heart of Outlander. Love that bends under the weight of history but never breaks. It's not the kind of love born of fantasy, but of endurance, flawed, painful, and profoundly real. As the camera pans out, the coop becomes a sanctuary, a symbol of how even in the most unlikely corners of a harsh world, love finds a way to survive. Their reunion is not just romantic, it's a quiet act of defiance. Two souls, battered by circumstance, choosing each other anyway, not because it's easy, but because it's inevitable. In that fragile, fleeting moment, Ellen and Brian reclaim their story, and with it, the legacy that will one day shape the destiny of the Fraser line. The morning after, Ellen and Brian's secret reunion dawns gray and heavy, as if the sky itself mourns what is to come. Word spreads swiftly through the Highlands, whispers of betrayal, of a runaway bride, of dishonor staining the McKenzie name. When Malcolm Grant learns that Ellen fled her wedding not for fear, but for love of another man, his heartbreak hardens into something far more dangerous. In a world where reputation is worth more than life, love becomes the spark that ignites bloodshed. Malcolm rides to the edge of the forest near Castle Leot, where Brian Fraser waits, knowing the confrontation is inevitable. There is no ceremony, no gathering of witnesses, only the cold wind cutting across the moors and the grim understanding that neither man will leave unscathed. The camera lingers on Malcolm's face, etched with rage and wounded pride. You stole her. He spits, his voice trembling between fury and pain. You've taken not just a woman, but my honor. Brian, ever the quieter soul, doesn't draw his sword immediately. She was never yours to take, he replies softly. His words carry no malice, only truth, and that truth burns hotter than any insult. Malcolm's hand shakes as he unsheathes his blade, his grief twisting into vengeance. Then let's see whose truth stands at the end of the day, he growls. The duel that follows is both brutal and beautiful, a choreography of rage and regret. Beneath a slate-colored sky, steel clashes, sparks fly, and the ground turns slick with rain. Each strike is fueled by more than anger. It's the clash of two worlds, one bound by pride and the other by love. The cinematography slows the action, focusing on their faces, Malcolm's contorted with fury, Brian's with sorrow. They are not simply fighting for Ellen, they are fighting for their beliefs, for how men are told to love, possess, and prove their worth. As the battle rages, Ellen arrives at the clearing, her voice breaking through the storm. Stop, please, she cries, but her plea is swallowed by thunder and the ringing of steel. Malcolm hesitates just long enough for Brian to parry his next strike and in a single desperate motion, drive his sword forward. The blade finds its mark. Malcolm stumbles, eyes wide with disbelief, blood blooming across his tunic like a crimson flower. The moment stretches into eternity. Brian catches him as he falls, whispering a prayer more out of sorrow than triumph. Ellen rushes to Malcolm's side, her tears mingling with the rain. I never wished you harm, she says, her voice cracking. Malcolm looks at her one last time, not with hatred, but with the hollow sadness of a man who has lost more than love. Then, silence. When the storm finally breaks, its downpour washes the blood from the earth, but not from their hearts. Malcolm's death seals Ellen and Brian's bond in tragedy. They have won each other, but at the cost of peace, innocence, and clan honor. The haunting quiet that follows the duel feels like both an ending and a beginning, the death of pride, the birth of rebellion. In that silence, Brian and Ellen stand together, rain-soaked and trembling, knowing there is no turning back. Their love, once a secret, has become an act of war, and though they walk away hand in hand, their victory is forever stained with blood. A reminder that in Outlander, blood of my blood, love is both salvation and sacrifice. The echoes of the duel still hang in the air when the Highlands awaken to fire. Across the ridgelines, one by one, the fiery crosses ignite tall wooden beacons of flame against the night, the signal of war. Their orange glow dances in the mist, both magnificent and menacing, casting long shadows across the heather. For the clans of Scotland, it is the ancient summons of the Jacobite cause, a call to rise, to fight, and to bleed for the dream of a free Scotland. For Brian Fraser and Ellen McKenzie, it is a sign that their stolen peace has reached its end. Hidden deep in the glen, they pause to watch the horizon. The night sky burns as if the heavens themselves are at war. Ellen clutches Brian's hand, her face illuminated by the flickering firelight. "It's begun," she whispers, voice trembling between awe and fear. Brian's eyes, weary yet resolute, follow the flames that snake along the distant hills. The fiery crosses mean more than rebellion. They are a reminder that love and duty in the Highlands are never separate. The same land that nurtures their passion now demands their sacrifice. "There will be no safety," he murmurs. "Not for us. Not for anyone who stays." This moment captures the core tension of the Outlander universe, the constant battle between personal happiness and the relentless pull of history. For a fleeting heartbeat, Brian imagines a life far from Scotland, away from the blood feuds and the endless wars. He could take Ellen south, perhaps even across the sea, to raise their children in peace. But the thought feels like betrayal. His identity, his honor, his very soul are bound to this soil. The camera lingers on their faces as the firelight flickers. Ellen's expression is unreadable, half fear, half quiet strength. "Then we face it together," she says, "whatever comes." Her words are soft, yet they carry the weight of destiny. This is not just a promise of love, it's a vow of shared defiance. As they travel through the darkened forest, the sound of drums and horns echoes in the distance. The clans are gathering, men arming themselves with rusted swords, tartans flying like battle standards. The air crackles with anticipation and dread. The cinematography shifts between sweeping shots of the Highland landscape and intimate close-ups of Ellen and Brian, their love framed against a world on the brink of chaos. For a brief, tender moment, they find shelter beneath an old oak tree. Brian wraps his plaid around Ellen's shoulders, the same tartan that will one day be passed down to their son, Jamie Fraser. In the quiet, they speak not of war, but of life, of the home they will build, the children they will raise, and the uncertain dawn that awaits them. When they finally move on, the fires still burn behind them, lighting their path into an unknown future. The flames symbolize both destruction and renewal, the death of one age and the birth of another. As the episode draws to a close, the camera pans upward, capturing the Highlands ablaze, the wind carrying the distant cries of the clans. Over this haunting tableau, Brian's voice echoes in narration. "Love is not freedom. It is the courage to face what freedom demands." The final image lingers to lovers walking hand in hand beneath the burning sky, their hearts united even as the world around them falls into war. Outlander, Blood of My Blood reminds us that in Scotland, every love story is written in fire. While the Highlands burn with rebellion, another story unfolds in the mist, one that bridges the mortal and the mystical, the heart and the unknown. Julia's journey, running parallel to Ellen and Brian's tale, reaches its breathtaking climax at the ancient stone circle, a place where time itself seems to hold its breath. The scene opens with the faint hum of wind and whispers, the air charged with an unseen power. The stones rise like sentinels against the dawn, their surfaces carved by centuries, glowing faintly with the energy that connects generations of the Fraser line. Julia's face is streaked with mud and tears, her hair tangled by wind and fear. In her arms, baby William whimpers softly, sensing his mother's terror. Behind her, the thunder of hooves grows louder. Archibald's men are close, their shouts echoing through the moor. Every heartbeat feels like a countdown. Henry runs beside her, carrying what little strength he has left after days of flight. Their goal is simple: reach the stones before it's too late. But nothing in Outlander ever comes without sacrifice. As they stumble into the clearing, the stones begin to hum, that familiar vibration that longtime fans of the series recognize instantly. The sound is otherworldly, both beautiful and terrifying. Julia looks at Henry, her eyes wide with realization. "It's happening," she whispers, clutching the baby tighter. The air shimmers around them, distorting the light, making the very fabric of reality waver. Henry stares at the circle, torn between wonder and dread. "If we go through," he says, "there's no coming back." Julia's reply is simple, resolute: "Then one of us must." As Archibald's men break through the trees, Julia's fear transforms into fierce determination. She presses the crying baby into Henry's arms, her voice breaking as she speaks. "Take him, keep him safe, promise me he'll live wherever you go." Henry shakes his head in disbelief, refusing to accept the truth he sees in her eyes. But Julia knows there is no time. The sound of swords clashing in the distance draws closer. "You can give him a life," she says. "I can only buy him time." The energy of the stones swells as the men close in. Julia kisses William's forehead, her tears falling onto his cheek. "You are my heart," she whispers. To Henry, she adds, "Find me in another time." Her voice trembles, but her resolve is unshakable. Then, with one final push, she guides Henry and the baby toward the stones. The air explodes in light and sound, a shuddering, electric hum, as they vanish into the shimmer. Julia is left standing alone, the glow fading, her hands reaching for the space where they once stood. When Archibald's men burst into the clearing, they find only Julia unarmed, unyielding. She faces them with the quiet defiance of a woman who has already won her greatest battle. As the camera pans upward, the stones glint faintly under the rising sun, their mystery preserved. In that moment, Outlander, blood of my blood, ties its mythology together. The past and the future, love and sacrifice, bound by the stones that defy time itself. Julia's choice ensures that her family's legacy will endure, echoing through the centuries until another Fraser woman, Claire, hears the same hum and steps through history once more. The story jumps forward to the 20th century, where young Claire explores the world with her uncle Lamb. The connection between past and present crystallizes as Julia's lineage unfolds, revealing her pregnancy and linking Claire's ancestry directly to the sacrifices of generations before her. The farewell scene at the train station, showing Henry, Julia, and little Claire together, is tender and tragic, a fleeting moment of happiness before history claims them again. The finale closes with Ellen and Brian's private wedding in the wilderness, witnessed only by their vows, sealed by a handfasting ritual and a blood oath, are simple yet eternal. When Murtaugh gifts Ellen a string of pearls he crafted himself, fans recognize them instantly, the same pearls that Claire will one day wear. A tangible bridge between centuries as they cling to each other beneath the burning glow of the fiery crosses. The screen fades to black. The war is coming. Their love has survived, but the price has only just begun. Outlander, blood of my blood, ends, not with finality but with promise, a comma, instead of a period. The episode closes the love story of Ellen and Brian while opening the door to the larger Fraser legacy. The fiery crosses remind us that the personal and political are forever intertwined, and the pearls symbolize the endurance of love through time, Julia's sacrifice ties the story back to Outlander's original timeline, ensuring that every act of love, no matter the century, ripples forward. This finale doesn't just honor the Outlander legacy, it deepens it, giving fans a prequel that feels both complete and eternal.